can go ahead and get started. A couple minutes in here. I'm sure folks thinks I'm eating lunch. Okay, Brooke, you didn't bring anything to share with the group, huh? That's unfortunate. I'm kind of hungry right now. So that's all right, though. We'll keep going. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I did prepare a couple slides today. Don't imagine we will take the full hour, but plan today is to go over NowCerts and InsuredMine. I would imagine if you're on this call right now, you are a NowCerts user. Even if you're not, probably going to be a very educational webinar today. So talk a little bit about what we're doing together. I do have Jimmy LaRue, as I mentioned, one of our NowCerts users on the call today. So if you have any questions about kind of how he's using it, I may pull him in for a couple thoughts here. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and kick off. So today I'll walk through these slides. I'll walk through a bit of a demo of the InsuredMine platform, and please feel free to stop me, ask questions, and hopefully we'll have some fun together. So if you haven't heard of InsuredMine before, you may be wondering, who are we? What do we do? We are a insurance CRM. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. But we also do marketing, Google reviews, e-sign, basically an entire sales platform wrapped around NowCerts. Really, we're the only one that's kind of left out there. There's some others in the market that don't really integrate the same way we do from an insurance-specific sales tool. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means and what we do. So when I say sales, we talk a lot about pipeline management. So a guy like Jimmy on the call here, who's an NowCerts user, is segmenting his different stages in his sales process so that he can make sure the right things are happening as folks move through what we would call customer journey, the time a lead comes in to the time we want to bind it, and we can even automate things based on that. So why you might do that really keeps you organized on where things are, where certain deals are. These are, deals. These are opportunities to close business, whether they're commercial or personal. Within this, you can build checklist items that may spit out that you need to accomplish during each deal stage. Emails, texts, handwritten note cards, ringless voicemails can actually flow out throughout this process to keep you on track, automate what you can. We've heard time and time again that users are saving an hour, 2 hours per deal just because they don't have to go hunting for different things. They can automate certain processes, and they can create somewhat of an assembly line as they move things through the sales process. So this is a screenshot of the pipeline manager within InsuredMine. All sorts of configurability you can do to edit these deal stages, create multiple pipelines. I'll actually pop into the platform here in a little bit to go through that. When we think about engagement, which is kind of the next part of this, which is the marketing aspect, all sorts of marketing campaigns that you can run. You can run pure email campaigns, text campaigns, automations that are a little bit more pre-built and templated. And this is based on your NowCerts data. So what InsuredMine is doing is pulling in that NowCerts data, using it, and allowing you to do automation based off this, or build a campaign, build a list, and then start to flow out some of that automation. So again, I'll dig in a little bit deeper. It'll be helpful to go through what the integration means so you know exactly what you can automate. I'll do that here in a moment. Then the last part is analytics. So we can, again, take that NowCerts data in, consume it as a platform, and then surface it back to you in the form of charts, graphs, reports, any of these things that you're seeing on the screen right now, I would be able to click into. I'll show you that in the platform, and a lot of data that you can gather very quickly, which is pretty sweet. Sometimes hard to find, hard to manipulate, hard to sort within the agency management system. So very high level, some of the things that we do from a platform perspective. Now let's talk about NowCerts and the integration. So when people say integration, that is a very broad term. That could mean that one thing syncs back and forth, and somebody might call that an integration. When we talk about an integration in the software world, the acronym that we typically use is CRUD. And I know that's kind of dirty and nasty, but that would stand for create. So one system would be able to create something in the other system, whether that's a contact, that's an account, that's a field that's being created. It would be able to read, meaning, for instance, InsuredMine is going to look at another system. It's going to read the data that's in there and be able to understand what's happening. It would be able to update. So let's say I updated a first name and NowSearch, it would update the first name and InsuredMine. And then, of course, the last is delete. So you delete a record in NowSearch, deletes the record in InsuredMine. Any good integration is probably going to have multiple components. And this would happen in two systems. The idea here is you don't have to do duplicate entry. An action that you take in one system could create another action in another system for things like automation, policy updates, moving customers to where they need to go. Important to note here, all integrations are not equal, right? So one system may say they have an integration. I would ask, what does that mean? What is happening in every system? So you may ask yourself right now, what data points are we syncing? Do we do all of the following that I just mentioned? Create, read, update, delete. Is it real time? How often is this happening? And is it two-way? Those questions will be answered here very shortly. So when we talk about what data is integrated, let's say I was to put a contact in NowSearch or InsuredMine. I was to update a contact in NowSearch or InsuredMine. Those things are flowing both ways. Do the same with policy level data. So let's say I have a download that comes to NowSearch. That download is actually going to kick to InsuredMine so you can see that policy level data in InsuredMine. A lot of this is happening near real time as well. Things like tasks, notes, when you update a property, a vehicle, drivers, text messages that are going out, those things are syncing back and forth. So again, prevents you from doing things in multiple systems and allows some automation that can be kicked off based on these things. When it comes to what transfers from NowSearch to InsuredMine only, we're pulling in documents. Typically the AMS is probably where those documents are going to live, and then coverages. As far as InsuredMine and NowSearch, when we say activities, activities would be things outside of notes, tasks, SMS. This is like emails. This is, you could do files, and I'm missing one, but it's blanking me. And then campaign. So let's say a campaign is flowing out from InsuredMine where you've got emails flowing out, text flowing out. That data is syncing back to NowSearch as it's flowing out through InsuredMine. So very robust, very detailed integration. What you'll start to notice here, if you're looking at things, is this is policy level information, typically, right? Your AMS is really great for policy management, for commissions, for accounting. And at the end of the day, your customer-facing platform can now be InsuredMine, where you can run your automations, you can run your pipelines, you can see where customers are, you can go search your NowSearch data. It becomes kind of that front end to the AMS. With this integration, that becomes possible, and we'll keep digging in onto what that means. So when we think about an agency journey, customer journey, so a lot of times you start with a lead, right? You might get a lead from a referral. You might get a lead from, you might buy them. They might come to your website. They might walk in your door. A lot of times you capture that client in InsuredMine. So I'm going to key it into the sales platform that is InsuredMine. You can even use what we call a web form. Web form, you can type it in to that form. It's going to create a contact account. At that point, it could sync to NowSearch just by putting it in InsuredMine. You might wait until quoting or binding, kind of up to you, depending on how this works. Then you're going to go through your sales process. We showed you that pipeline manager earlier. you're going to be taking notes. There may be some automations that are going out. You may be sending emails to them back and forth as you're trying to close this deal. That data then can sync to NowCerts. So once you've synced that contact, synced that account, whenever that may be, that activity level data is going to flow in. The nurture. So nurture is, hey, you know, we've got this time in between when we've tried to sell them and when we're actually binding them. This is where you may use an X date drip if we've lost them. You may be taking, you know, 12, 18 months if this is a commercial account. All sorts of templates, all sorts of automations that you can use to nurture these accounts. And then you actually may bind them, right? Probably after you've sold them, nurtured them, they come into a bind. From then, we've put the data into NowSearch. Policy level data is syncing back to InsuredMine. And then you're going to run probably some marketing campaigns around cross-sells or renewals. So InsuredMine can actually identify that you've sold them auto, but you haven't sold them home. It could identify the fact that we're 90 days away from renewal and we want to send them a short email saying, hey, we're 90 days away. You may want to check in with us, or we're going to be reaching out. Something very simple or very robust, depending on what your process looks like. So again, with InsuredMine, this now becomes your customer-facing platform. You should be able to map out everything you want to happen in each process, segment customers as they go through them, and then employees of the agency or you as an agent can become so much more efficient during this process. So Jimmy, since I've got you here, can you share a little bit more about your lead into sales process? And I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. I know you use the pipeline really well. Would love to hear from you.
Sure. Real quick, Tucker, just on how we get leads into the pipeline. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, how you get a lead into the pipeline and then what you do with them as they move through that sales and nurture process.
Yeah. So for us, also, sorry, my kids are home today. So if you hear them in the background.
It's 2022, man. We get it.
So yeah, for us, we utilize, like, InsuredMine's got really good, robust forms built into, like, InsuredMine, which I think at some point we're going to transition to that. Like when I transitioned our agency to independent, we already had all of our fact finders built in a different platform. But just because InsuredMine works so well with Zapier, we still use those fact finders, so we didn't have to rebuild them yet. And when we get a lead, most of the time our leads, like, by the time we're talking to them, we're doing fact finders on most of them. And so they're more of a qualified prospect, I guess, at that point. So we talk to the individual, do a fact finder with them. As soon as the fact finder is inputted or submitted, which basically the fact finder's got all of their contact info, their name, their address, their phone, their email, as well as all their quote information. It triggers a Zapier automation and creates a deal in our InsuredMine pipeline, just in our new prospect stage. And it carries over a link, like we're able to create a custom data field in InsuredMine. And so it carries the view link for that form into the deal card. So that way it pops up in our deal or our pipeline. Our staff can see it. They can access that link with the full fact finder, and then they can start working on it immediately. And the cool thing is and there's a small hiccup in this due to a NowCerts thing, but as soon as they fix it, what the cool thing is when we input that information, it carries over into the name, phone, email, and address fields of InsuredMine. And because we have two-way sync automatically on with NowCerts, it automatically puts every lead and prospect we have into NowCerts as well. And NowCerts does have a feature where you can bridge over quotes into PL Rater at least, and that's what we use. And so it eliminates a lot of duplicate entries there. So
That's great, Jimmy. And you know, as you hear him talking, he's talking about the different processes that are happening during this sales journey that folks are going through, and what he's doing to make sure the right things are happening as they go through it. Jimmy, one thing to note: if you do start using those forms, you can actually sync those forms to PL Rater at the same time it creates a contact and account in InsuredMine.
Yeah, that's actually one of the big reasons I do want to migrate those forms over, is because you guys have that direct integration.
Yeah.
So, oh, Tucker, sorry, just when you were talking about the expectation of the client, that is like another huge thing for me for InsuredMine. Is every single stage of our sales process, we have a checklist that our staff and our producers go through to standardize the process, which I was able to make, you know, how-to videos for each stage of that checklist. That's like 2 or 3 minutes. But then in addition to that, there's client touch points for each thing. So when a new prospect goes into our pipeline, one thing that I was kind of bad about is sometimes I let them sit for a day or two before, which is like just the death of sales, right? And so the very first thing that happens is it shoots them a text message that says, "Hey, just wanted to let you know we got your information at Financial House. We're going to start your quote immediately, and we'll have it to you." And like it'll say what day we scheduled it for, and say it'll take 1 to 2 days to do your quote. So that way expectations are set immediately, and it's really helped bridge that expectation gap that we had before.
I love that, Jimmy. So, you know, organizing what the expectations are internally, and then using it as a communication engine for the potential insured to let them know what you're doing. I mean, it doesn't have to be super detailed. It's just saying, hey, we got your information. We're going to be with you in 1 to 2 days. So, you know, if I got that on the other side, wow, I feel like, you know, I know exactly what's going on. I know who to talk to. Very professional, and it's happening the same time over and over again. It's a process that, you know, your account manager doesn't have to go send every time, and they might forget to do that. So great thoughts. Appreciate you, Jimmy. Moving on. So Jimmy talked about this a little bit already. You know, this website lead you can bring in via lead. Zapier. So if you're bringing in from Facebook, different lead sources, you can use our forms to bring these in. You can even use a forwarding email. So let's say you have an add all email that you want to use that can actually create a contact or an account in ours, or you can just key it in. Again, Jimmy mentioned this really well, using checklists, intake forms during the sales process. You've got all these actions or activities that you might do, which include dropping a label on this account to start some sort of automation drip, and then really understanding your data as they move through. Again, more automations, very similar to sales within the nurture side. And then on the renewal side, the cross sells, the analytics that you can pull from your current book of business, and even building out what we call a renewal pipeline, which is similar to the sales pipeline, just a set of stages that folks go through as they're going through the renewal. So allows you, again, to really segment what's going on, automate, and make sure we know exactly where they are in the customer journey. So how this is different than other systems. Other systems you might look at probably don't have forms. You would have to use another tool for that. They may not have a forwarding email. So, you know, somebody emails leads at, you know, thefinancialhouse.org. They would not be able to forward that and create a lead out of that. On the sales side, other systems might be very rigid on what their pipeline looks like. They don't allow you to create custom stages and then automate based on those stages. It's, hey, you fit into this bucket, or, you know, you go somewhere else. Ours is very configurable, very easy to create, and a lot of customizations around that with the checklist. All sorts of unique templates that you can build. You can build your own marketing campaigns within this. All sorts of logic that you can create with automation. So I would say the differentiation is it's incredibly easy to use, but incredibly robust at the same time. I do have a question from Brooke. Yes, the forms are customizable. So you can actually drag and drop to build a form. Start with a template. Obviously, the questions you ask may be different than the questions that Jimmy is asking. So 100% they are customizable. Good question, Brooke. Let me know if there's any follow-ups to that. So quick 10 pro tips that we can talk about. So one thing, thank you, Brooke. Thank you. Okay. Automated pipeline card creation using Zaps with automated drips. So let's say I have a Facebook lead come in, or let's say one comes to my website. I can actually use Zapier. If you're not familiar with Zapier, Zapier is just a sit in between that says, hey, somebody fills out a first name here. I want it to create a first name in InsuredMine. It's actually pretty easy to use. Jimmy's using it. It can actually create a card in our pipeline, and then automations can start just based on that creation. So it's no touch. First name's filled out here. First name comes in here. We have the email address. We shoot something out. With your NowSearch data, we can actually take that and we can help you create a renewal pipeline. So you could say, all right, 90 days ahead of renewal, I just want a simple email and text to go out saying, hey, your renewal's coming up in 90 days. Please reach out, schedule a meeting with us, get in touch with us should you need anything before your renewal happens. Very light. Looks like the person, who's sending the email sent it, because it actually comes from their Outlook, which is pretty cool, to let them know the renewal is coming up. So again, doesn't have to be super long, but an email that probably is sent every time anyway by your account managers, CSRs, producers. You can, pro tip, run an email or text campaigns for, hey, our agency is turning 50 this year. Hey, Merry Christmas, whatever it may be. Hey, you're in a certain area of the world. You might have twisters, you might have hurricanes, you might have natural disasters. You'd be able to blast certain people in certain locations or everybody at the same time. Really easy to do right away. We do have what we call a scheduler link. A lot of pros are using that. Hey, schedule a meeting with me, right at the bottom of an email signature or in one of these renewal campaigns. They can click the link, schedule a meeting on your calendar, see what availabilities you have. Just a really easy, convenient way for folks to talk to your agents. We talked a little bit about forms earlier. Great way to do fact finding, to prevent duplicate entry amongst multiple systems, and have referral partners basically hand you the lead where it goes directly into the system, which is pretty cool. We do have a pretty sweet integration with TransPay for payment information. If you haven't checked that out or checked them out, maybe something to do if you want to kind of combine all your systems. Talked a little bit about it earlier, but automations for birthday renewals, cross-sells, there's so much that you can do. One of the kickoffs for a new client would be really cool. Just right when they bind a policy, it welcomes them, gives them some sort of welcome packet, lets them know what to expect. If you haven't checked out thanks.io, we do integrate with them. It comes directly from our platform. Actually, a handwritten note card can go out, and this can be right when they bind. This can be around renewal. Lots of opportunities there. And then right off the bat, we can show you in our platform all your monoline policies. A lot of times folks say, oh, we need to drive new business. Well, if you would just maximize what you've got, makes things a lot easier said than done, obviously, but we can show you the data of what's monoline, give you strategies around it. So 10 pro tips that people are doing today with NowCerts. Thought I would throw those out there. Okay, so thanks for listening to me ramble on there quite a bit. I'm going to go into a little bit deeper of a demo. So right now what you're looking at is the InsuredMine platform. I'm actually going to start with the pipeline. So if I wanted to create a pipeline, I could do that from scratch. So this would be NowCerts pipeline. Here I would have my lead in stage. Then I might have fact finding. Then I might have quoting. Then I might have waiting on carrier. Then I might have bind, right? So in 30 seconds, I just created a pipeline. Let's say I wanted to put some custom data fields on here. I want certain deal modules and I want certain people to be able to be in this pipeline. I can create that in a matter of moments. From here, I've got my deal stages. Now, again, you can bring in deals from Zaps, from forms. I can come in and key in a deal. What's really cool about this with the NowCerts integration, when you log into InsuredMine day one, you're going to be able to see all your NowCerts data. So I type in John, I would know, is this a current client? Is it an inactive client? Is it a prospect that I've tried to work in the past? So as I'm inputting this data, I make sure I know who I'm talking to and make sure I'm not duplicating efforts or don't have a good grasp of what this customer is already doing with me. Once I create that deal card, let me go ahead and do that. I don't have all my information. It's going to pop up this deal card in the system. Now, let's say I had automation set up. A lead comes in. I could actually say, okay, when the lead comes in, I want to say hi, first name, contact first name. We got your information and are going to be reaching out to learn more. Whatever this may be, this is obviously super simple. It can come from whoever the agent is it's assigned to in the platform, and I'd save that. Now this is an automation that'll happen when a lead comes in. I could build this out so it's emails, texts, as Jimmy mentioned earlier. It could be checklist items. It could actually send out a form for them to fill out, and really allows you to build that process within each stage. As I move things through the funnel, automations can stop and automations can start. So now that you're in the fact finding, you may say, hey, during fact finding, we want to send out a link to a form. That link to a form can go out via email. They're going to receive that. They'd be able to fill that out. While I'm talking about forms so much, and this may help with the question that was asked earlier, all sorts of templates that you can use, we can provide those to you. Our customer success team is really great about helping folks with this. This is an example of a form that somebody might fill out. You can put your own logo on it. It could be very simple. It could be very robust. And basically a drag and drop builder to build out these forms. So starting from scratch, I'd use text fields. Now this text field is here. This is what it would look like on a phone or website. So again, super easy to set up, or we can help you with templates to get you started. This can create contacts, create accounts in the system so you're not doing duplicate entry. That form saves so you can see it in the future. Really, really powerful and cool feature. So I'm moving things through the funnel. I would be probably emailing, texting, taking notes on this account. I'm actually going to go to another pipeline to show you what that might look like. Going to create a nice, neat timeline of everything that's happened on this deal. And then that data can sync to NowCerts. So we can sync to NowCerts. Typically, there's a button here that would have NowCerts on it, where it's actually going to drop that, create a client file, create a shell, drop that contact level information, and then that data is automatically flowing into NowCerts now that that has been synced. So you're not doing that duplicate entry in multiple systems. So that pipeline management helps keeps you organized, helps you understand where all your deals are. It's going to start feeding you data on what's happening during your sales process, what each agent has won over time. We've got another top NowCerts agency on the call here with Camille, basically saying that she was able to better understand what her folks were actually selling and the activities that they were doing every day. One thing we've heard time and time again, when I'm bringing on a new sales rep, a new agent, this allows me to show them what our process is, train them on this system. Then from there, they're just walking the insured, potential insured through the process that we have set up. So we frequently hear this helps me onboard agents faster. This helps me understand what they're doing day to day. And this helps me measure, do I need a new agent? Can I scale this? How many leads do I need to close to get X amount of business? This is going to give you the data that you need to scale your agency. Camille says, yes, it has really helped me. Thanks. Love it. Love it.
Tucker,
Yes, Jimmy.
can I just mention something on that?
Of course, please.
So just to, I guess, I don't know, validate that. I hired 2 new producers this summer. I mean, and they're like super green. They have like a tiny amount of experience, like their dad and father-in-law are both insurance agents. So they like are at least somewhat aware of insurance stuff, but they've never worked in an insurance agency. They're both 22, 23. The first one I hired right as I was putting my checklist together. And so he didn't have the benefit of having the checklist in there right when we started or having any how-to videos. It's super easy, you guys, to put together like onboarding materials and training materials for new hires, because you create your checklist and your pipeline for what your ideal client experience is. And then you can use a program like Loom, which is, I mean, free, or like you can pay $10 a month, and then record each step of your checklist, and then just save those on a Google Doc or Notion or something. So that way they can, as they're doing a quote, watch each step of your checklist in a 1 to 2 minute video. And so the first kid I hired, it literally took him 2 or 3 months to finally feel like he was good and going. And like, I'm serious, like, and the other kid is a little bit more tech savvy, but I mean, he was doing his own quotes in under 2 weeks, like, and he was like, oh, this is great. Yeah, I feel like I know what I'm doing. And he was able, from start to finish, getting a lead, doing fact finding, all the way through closing a deal and onboarding a client. Like, he was able to do that because we had videos already set up for each of those steps. So anyway, works well. Just an endorsement on that.
Love it, Jimmy. So yeah, just allowing you to build a scalable process here, measure that it's happening. And Jimmy's done a great job as a leader saying, okay, this is what our process is. Here's videos of how it should be done, so that when he throws in a new agent, you know, and these 22 to 30-year-olds today need a lot of this help if it's their first time selling insurance, can fully understand the process, jump into it, always have that backup to see, you know, what should I be doing next in my sales process. So kudos to Jimmy, and thanks for the backup there. Appreciate it. Brooke has a wonderful question. So on emails that go out of an automation, are they straight text only, or can I add pics, GIFs, links to videos, etc.? So all of these have full HTML capability. That's a fancy word to say you can throw about anything that you want into these automations. So let's say I'm working on a policy renewal automation. I can drop a picture in here. I could have a link in here, right? That goes to a URL and has text. I could have videos where it's like a clickable PDF. Yep, Brooke, perfect on the HTML. That is what I currently have and need. So that's great. If you actually have an HTML email already, you can take that email template and you can drop it into InsuredMine. We also have, for lack of a better term, a crap ton of templates that you can use in here. Anything from Thanksgiving automations that you can use, cross-sell automations, or office is closed automations, or you can go in and you can build a template. We like to say, we'll give you the bones and you add the meat. What I mean by that is there's all sorts of these marketing level templates, or just text templates, if you want them to look like they came from an agent, that you can start with, adjust, and then drop in. So ton of functionality there. I really want to track referral sources and have different automations for each. I would want to apply tags in the forms to be able to accomplish this. I assume this would be best achieved in an intake form. Is this all possible? Brooke, I see a future power user in our midst here. This is awesome. So yeah, what I could do, if you're noticing on something like this, it's got a tag or a label on these. So this one says claim. This one just says discovery completed. So I could come in here and I could actually drop a label on this account, which could be any number of things. When I drop a label on an account, and this can be achieved through a form, this can be achieved through adding this label, then in the system, I tell the system, okay, when I add a label, which could be any number of labels that I can call, I then want this email to go out because I have identified they're under this label. So you can create automations based on those labels as well that you just mentioned, Brooke. A lot of our top users are doing that in a really, really cool way. And track referral sources as well. So yes, you can absolutely do that. Here in the pipeline, I'm going to go to my deal charts. I would go to deal report by lead source, and I'd be able to see Bob the Builder has tossed me all these different leads. I can even click into it, see this full report, download it, obviously see it within a graph. This is really going to allow me to track my centers of influence. You may or may not use that vernacular. A lot of people do. And then you would be able to automate and send campaigns around that by pulling those reports. So really cool things, as you're noticing, and I apologize if I'm going super quick, but super easy to find this data really quickly. Click into it, download it. I'm not having to code anything. I'm not having to have a master's in information science to go build out these reports. Super, super easy to do. So we've talked about that pipeline. Again, you can customize these however you want. If you are an agency owner, I, as an admin, could go look at different pipeline across my different agents. I could see it all in one place if I want to see all the deal cards. For an agent, if you want them to, maybe they just see their own pipeline, so they're not seeing everybody's. If you're worried about people poaching stuff, you can prevent that from happening. So a lot of configurability if you've got multiple agents. One of the power pro things that you can do is build out what we call a renewal pipeline. So we can do just pure renewal campaigns if you want, meaning it just recognizes the deal card or the agency is 90 days away to renewal and this flows out, or it's happening based on these pipeline stages. So 75 days to renew, you would see a deal card pop up. It's pulling from that NowCerts data. It could automatically move 40 days to renewal. We can even stamp it when it's renewed or canceled from the agency management system. And then you would see that here in this renewal pipeline. So as an agency owner or as a CSR, you would be able in one screen to be able to see where all your renewals are. Take notes on each one, work through them at any given time, really know exactly where they are, which is huge in my opinion. A lot of times you've got to, it's like, you're on a mission, like you're the team from Scooby-Doo trying to solve where all your renewals are. It's super, super hard to do. This just makes it easier and allows you to create those checklists, create those automations, even send out like a form during a certain period of time based on where those renewals are. Okay, we talked about sales, obviously all sorts of engagement campaigns that you can do around renewals, welcoming clients, birthdays. We do have templates, we do have things that you can use, or if you have it that a certain way that you want to do things based on your flow or how you want things to work, all sorts of campaigns that you can use there. A couple other cool features, productized features are things like Google reviews. We do have our own e-signature tool. Some of you out there may be spending 19 to 49 bucks a user a month on DocuSign or Right Signature or InsuredMine. This comes with our platform. And then all sorts of ways to kind of slice and dice your data, whether you're looking at carriers, the amount of premium you're writing. Again, we're pulling this from NowCerts. Let's say you did have multiple versions of the same carrier in your system because they code the same way. You can even merge them. So now you can see your data flowing the right way and see what you're accurately writing with your carriers. This helps for contingencies. This helps for overrides. This helps with relationship management with your carriers. And then all sorts of reports you can pull. So when I go look at all my renewals, again, just another way to do this. When I look at all my monoline accounts, super easy to pull this data and then take action with this data. We can build, as I mentioned earlier, lots of graphical information off of this. Maybe you want to see how much data is missing from NowCerts. We can show you what's missing emails, what's missing dates of birth, give you those lists, help you text them, email them to gather that information, which is pretty cool. And really just see what you're writing across lines of business when X dates are coming up. Again, shouldn't be hard to pull this data, should be able to see it very easy. And we allow you to do that. So at the end of the day, that's a lot of information, I'm sure. The whole point is to start somewhere. So whether it's, hey, we want to build a pipeline, we want to make sure our leads are taken care of, great place to start, right? You can't boil the ocean in a day. That integration with NowCerts is going to prevent you from putting things in multiple places because we're pulling and pushing data. Brooke says, I already have Zapier. When would I need to use this if I move to InsuredMine? So Zapier would be used. Jimmy, are you still on the call?
Yep.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how you use Zapier with InsuredMine?
Let me think. So let's see, what was the question? I already have Zapier. Oh, I need to use this. Oh, so like if you need to get rid of Zapier, if you're going to use InsuredMine, honestly, like uh, I use a lot of different programs. So campaigns. Yeah,
Mm,
honestly, I would keep out, or I would keep a lot of my stuff. I do still use third-party tools a lot. So like when I get a new lead form, basically, like I said, I still use outside lead forms. And so if that's the case, then you can do that. But when you get a new lead in InsuredMine, you can also trigger a bunch of other things like you can send that lead to Google Contacts, for instance, so that way you have a phone and an email. If you already use like Ring Central or a different phone provider or something, then you can also send that contact there. So that way, right from the get-go, you don't have a bunch of like unknown numbers that you've been texting and have to figure that out. I'm trying to think if you do use an outside, like we use another program to do proposals. And so when we do those proposals, we want to have that contact's name and email already in that system. So there's just a variety of things that you can do. If you're into marketing and stuff too, you can send the email every time you get a new lead, send that email to a Facebook audience. So that way you can just have a kind of a slow advertising campaign. So there's just a bunch of things. I would for sure keep Zapier. I never use a program unless if it hooks to Zapier. Because then it allows me to have this massive machine and do whatever I want it to do, you know.
yeah, great thoughts there, Jimmy. So Brooke, you may not need Zapier anymore. It depends on where your leads are coming from. But if you use an InsuredMine form to gather lead information, you would not need to zap that in. That's being done by us to pull that in. It really just depends on what the flow is. But yeah, you would not need ActiveCampaign. You would not need Zapier. We can handle that, as well as give you a pipeline, e-sign, Google reviews, all these different things in one place, and integrate it with NowCerts. Now, any of your campaigns are flowing into NowCerts, so you can see that. Cool thing too for you, if you're using Ring Central, I can actually call and text from the platform. So I'd say I have a text campaign going out. It's actually coming from my Ring Central number, or I'd be able to call, text from the platform from my Ring Central number, which is really, really sweet. We can record those calls. Those calls can actually then sync to NowCerts as a link or a file. So really, really robust integration with Ring Central as well. Okay, we are at the 45-minute mark. I was planning to keep it around that time. Any questions, thoughts? I know, really appreciate Jimmy, Brooke, some of these folks being active today. Makes me feel like I'm not just talking to myself, so appreciate that. Just open it up for Q&A. If not, we can give everybody a little bit of time back in their day. Okay. So if you're looking for one-on-one demo, we'd love to give you one. You can either come to our website. You can reach out directly to me. My email is tucker@insuredmine.com. I'm also going to throw my phone in there. You should be able to see that. We'll also send a follow-up email to anybody that joined after this. Recorded calls saved in the client file. Brooke, yes, they are. They are. Pretty sweet feature. Brilliant. Brooke, I'll plan to follow up with you after this. If you want to drop me an email, tucker@insuredmine.com. Would love to connect with you. It sounds like we should have a further conversation. So everybody else, Jimmy, thanks for joining the panel. Montserrat, thanks for putting this together. NowCerts, really appreciate the partnership. Love working with NowCerts agencies. Seems like there's a ton of value there. So thank you everyone who joined. We'll give you some time back in your day, and happy holidays. Be safe out there, y'all. Take care.